Hey, what's going on, everyone? So you might recall a while back I made a new Intellivision console video, and I said in that video that I was going to make a follow-up video in October when Intellivision talked more about the new console, and I never did. Reason being, October is always a really busy month for me. I did a lot of Halloween things in October. I went to two haunted houses. I went to a corn maze with my girlfriend. I went and saw Danzig on Halloween night, which was incredible. And I ate a ton of candy. I probably gained another 20 pounds that I'm going to have to try to work off. But yeah, October was extremely busy for me. And on top of that, I kind of wanted to wait and see what other people had to say about the new console first because you know me, I'm a huge Intellivision fanboy. I collect anything and everything in television. I have like pretty much all the hardware. I have almost all the games that were put out for the console back in the day. I have 121 of the 125. I even have Spiker Pro Volleyball, which, if you don't know, is a very expensive game. Loose cart, talking about around $700, in box and everything. You're looking around $1,400 or so, depending on if the manual's with it and stuff like that. I'm wearing an Intellivision hat right now, as a matter of fact. I love Intellivision stuff. Like, I have all kinds of Intellivision swag, and people know that about me. And so I started thinking, man, maybe this isn't going to be the best idea for me to make this video because everybody's going to think that I'm biased because I'm such a Intellivision fan. But after watching a bunch of interviews and reading interviews and looking at comments and stuff like that on people's videos, I gotta say that I think a lot of them were overly negative, and maybe it's because we've been bullshitted a lot lately in the gaming world. You have Atari SA, this French holding company that owns the rights to old Atari stuff. Those guys are posers, man. I'm just gonna outright say it. I know that's not a nice thing to say, but that's how I feel. They're not real game programmers or anything. Like, they're just some people that own a name. And so a lot of people have been really upset about that, and the fact that it seems like a scam. It's being kickstarted or whatever, and it just seems like a scam to a lot of people, me included. And before that, we dealt with the Coleco Chameleon, and that thing was a total joke with Mike Kennedy and all that, and yeah, that was awful. And so at games, AT games, whatever they're calling themselves, they keep putting out a bunch of new retro consoles that are just awful pieces of crap. And so yeah, we as gamers have to kind of deal with a lot of BS, and it's a shame because then a credible company comes around wanting to put out a new retro kind of revisioned kind of console, and immediately a bunch of people are like, oh, this is gonna suck, or this is a scam, or whatever else. And I really believe that this isn't the case here. Intellivision Entertainment, as they're calling themselves now, I heard an interview the other day that they have over $10 million in marketing alone into this thing. And so yeah, and they got PR people and everything. Just everybody that they have on their team is an industry veteran, and they know what they're doing. They're legit people, and they're getting paid. This is their job to make this thing as successful as possible. So yeah, you need to take all those things into consideration before you just bash this thing relentlessly. So anyhow, let's talk about the reveal at PRGE or whatever. Yeah, I should know. I was there, right? See my Intellivision lanyard, and look, I got the cool badge and everything, and there's just naked ladies everywhere. Tommy and I did some coke in the men's room. It was crazy. Just kidding. I wasn't there. My friend Adam was there, though. Him and his friends went, and one of them gave up their badge and lanyard, and so now it's mine, and it looks cool in the collection, Either way, I watched it at home, sitting from my couch, and it wasn't really presented as well as it could have been. The phone was being held vertically, and so you didn't get a full screen picture. The audio was kind of so-so, and the one thing that a lot of people really flipped out about is that they didn't actually show the console. And so people were like, what the heck, man? I waited all this time and now you're not even showing me this thing. And so a lot of people were a little, they didn't really like any of that stuff. For me, it raised the hype level even more because they told us so many good things during that conference that my mind was just completely blown. Like, I went from, yeah, I really want this as an Intellivision fan, as a guy that's been playing Intellivision for 32 plus years. I really want this. To, I need this now. Why can't I have this now? I want it. Right, and so, yeah, I went from, like, yeah, I'm going to get it probably, to, yes. And so, yeah, what did they talk about in that workshop there? Well, first off, the price range, $149 to $179. I talked about that in my last video, and yeah, that's about where I thought it would sit, is around $150 to $179 or so. And so, yeah, honestly, like, I think that's a great price. $150 is a perfect price for me. Will I still buy this thing if it goes up to $179? Absolutely. I mean, what are we talking about at that point? $20 more? Whatever. Take my money. North American, United Kingdom, and European release date is October 10th, 2020. So we got a couple years yet or so, and that's another reason why I kind of postponed this video a little bit. We got some time still. But at least we have a set release date. It's not some BS that, it's probably going to come out sometime next year, maybe towards the beginning of the year. No, exact date. And it's very iconic, too, with all the 10s and 20s and stuff. Alright, so we got a system overview. All games are family-friendly and rated E for everyone or E10+. Now, that's been a big stink for a lot of people, because a lot of people are used to games like, like this, like Doom, right? Like, Doom is badass. Doom is, this, it's 3D. There's blood and guts everywhere, and I mean, it's a mature title. They won't have this on their console, and that's a problem for people. For me, it's not, because I think about how gaming used to be, okay? Like, I bet you I can reach behind me right now, and any of these games are going to be E for everyone. Watch, here, let's do it. Which one will I grab? Baseball. Yeah, baseball's definitely for everybody, right? There's nothing, no blood or guts there, right? Let's try another one. Tropical Trouble. Yeah, that's a good one. Man, you don't see that one every day, and I just dropped it, right? I just decreased the value on my game there. But the point is that games back in the day weren't filled with blood and guts and swearing and drug use and nudity and all that. It wasn't there then, and it doesn't need to be there now, really. Like, if you want that kind of thing, it's everywhere. You can PC, PS4, Xbox One, you name it, you can get them. They're there. But yeah, for me, not an issue. Moving on. Next thing on the list here is every game version of the console is exclusive. And so that caused a lot of stink too, right? And so I don't think people understood that correctly. When people read that, they thought, okay, so what about a game like... what's a good example here? These are all horrible examples. Okay, how about this one? Raiden 5 or whatever. Raiden. People pronounce it differently. Either way, so this game can't be on the new Intellivision? What the hell kind of crap is that, right? Wrong. This game can absolutely be on the Intellivision. It'll just be a little bit different. So, maybe they make something special for the screen on the controller. Or maybe they change the graphics a little bit. Maybe they make the music a little bit different. It's not going to be an exact port, an exact replica of that PS4 version. It's going to be exclusive for the new Intellivision console, meaning that it will still be the same game, just a little bit different, made for that console in particular, which is good because then I'll, like if the game is too much for the console, they can strip it down and make it work for the console. Or if maybe the console is better than what that game is, they can, soup up the graphics a little bit more, make the sound a little bit nicer, They can put some cool stuff going on the controller, like I said. So that's what that means. Don't freak out, if there's games that you really, really want to see that are on PS4 and Switch and Xbox One, or, if it's, it might be PS5 by then, I don't know. But either way, there's a chance that you might be able to get a version of it on the Amico. So, not a big deal. And honestly, I like that. I like that. If I buy it on my PS4, it's not going to be that same game on the Amico. Like, why would I rebuy it if it's going to be exactly the same? That doesn't make any sense. Alright, quality over quantity. All games must pass the strict quality control seal of approval. I hope that they do better with this than Nintendo did. What do I mean by that? Do you remember the games for the NES? A lot of them were horrible. There were some gems, don't get me wrong. Mario 3, stuff like that is fantastic, But there was a lot of crap that had that seal on it. And I don't think it's going to be like this for Intellivision. I think Intellivision, they have people that enjoy playing games working for them. And so they're going to personally test them out and make sure that the game doesn't suck. Because it's not just about, censoring them or making sure that there isn't anything that would be bad for kids in it. It's also to make sure that the game doesn't totally suck. And so I like that. I hate it when you see a cheap game on the PS Store or something like that for $3, and you're like, yeah, for $3 I'll take a chance. And then you play it and you're like, this is awful. I just wasted $3. And so yeah, I think that they're going to do a good job with that, and I think that's actually a good thing. No costly DLC, downloadable content, add-ons, or in-app purchases. That's awesome. I hate that about mobile gaming. It's why I don't game or do any mobile games, is because they try to sucker you in by giving the game to you for free, and then you find out that in order to get past this level, you got to buy something or something like that. No, that's stupid. Or do you remember when Capcom was releasing games and then you had to pay to unlock characters and stuff like that? That's stupid because all that stuff was already on the disc. You just had to pay again to unlock content that you already paid for. It's stupid. I'm glad they're not doing anything like that. Alright, launch to include several built-in reimagined Intellivision classics pre-installed in every console, and over 20 games including both reimagined industry classics and brand new exclusive titles via the Intellivision online store. That is super cool. I'm really liking that a lot. So right out of the box, you get a bunch of Intellivision games, old classic Intellivision games that you get to enjoy with the new controller on the new system, on your HD TV, having fun. And then when it comes to the new games, we'll get to that when it comes up on the list. But I want to talk about the controllers. And for the record, I'm just going off of a list of features that Intellivision included in their email fan letter thingamajig, I was making notes as I went along when I watched the original presentation, but these are better, so I went ahead and just printed them. I didn't set the parameters though, and so it took 3 pages, which is kind of ridiculous, kind of a waste of paper, but that's okay. I'll reuse the backs. So either way, you get 2 controllers, both wireless Bluetooth controllers, and you can do up to 8 players with the console. You can connect up to 8 controllers. And so what's really cool about this is they're allowing people to use their cell phones, which I think is really cool, because sometimes you don't want to go out and buy a bunch more controllers, especially when your friends probably don't come over all the time. I know mine don't. I'm happy to see some of my friends once a year, and that's just part of being an adult. You don't really see your friends as often as you'd like anymore. But Yeah, I think that's really cool. You know, especially for games like think about like Fruit Ninja, right? Where you're just slicing, slice. You know, and that would be perfect for. You know, you could use a cell phone for that. You don't need a dedicated Intellivision controller for that. Or like think about like Flappy Bird, where you're just kind of tapping the screen, making the bird fly. Or think about Angry Birds, for that matter, where you're just using the screen to launch the bird from the slingshot and stuff like that. Or think about like a game show kind of game, right, where you're just using it as a buzzer, man. You know, and then the answer is A. You know, the correct answer is C or something like that, you know? And so it's going to work great for games like that. And then for, you know, your other friends that want to play more involved games, you know, make them bring their own damn controller. But I will say that there is a bunch of USB ports on this thing, and so there might be the ability to attach different controllers. You don't know. Like maybe they'll put out a classic controller that you can plug in via USB. I can already think of adapters that will allow me to do so, but maybe they'll put out one, you know, or a third party will put out a good one. So yeah, there's that. And it says that the screen is 3.5. It's a 3.5-inch screen, 2:3 aspect ratio, and obviously it's color. So yeah, that's roughly the same size as the Intellivision overlays. I did talk about that in my last video, that I predicted that that's what's going to happen, but they hinted at it really hard, so it wasn't like I'm not a super great guesser or something. They basically gave us the answer. I'm all about that screen. I think it's going to be cool. Really cool, actually. Now it says pioneering tilting positional disc but surrounding interactive LED border. So let's look at the original controller over here. I got a spare one sitting right here. And so the original one, you put your thumb on it like this. And how you're really supposed to use this disc is you're supposed to keep your thumb on it. Like say you're walking around and I'm walking around and now I'm going to go over here. Now I'm going to go over down there. And stuff like that. You just keep your thumb on it like this. A lot of people see it and they think of like, you know, like a NES D-pad where you're going like this. Or maybe like this. Like that. Or maybe you're using your whole thumb like this. But no. Keep your thumb on it like this. Work around it. See how that works? Now, so the new one is going to be a disc. It's going to be a disc, but they're going to get rid of this lip that kind of surrounds the disc. And, you know, as an adult, I haven't had any problems. But when I first started playing this console as a kid, there would be times I'd be playing and my thumb would go right into this thing. And it hurts, man. Like, it'll definitely make your thumb numb for a little bit. You'll have that Intellivision numb thumb going on. But they're getting rid of that crap. And so that lip won't be here anymore. And then it'll just kind of tilt. Like instead of, you can see when I push it, the whole disc kind of goes in because it's sitting on top of a spring. Whereas this is going to be kind of more of a floating kind of thing like this. And you know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of one of my very favorite controllers. This is the 6-button Sega Genesis controller. And you can see it has a D-pad that looks a little bit more like a Nintendo D-pad. But this whole thing is floating. And that feels so good. Like I love the way this thing tilts and feels. Like this is an excellent controller, especially that D-pad there. But yeah, so like if I were to get this and that and combine the two, then that's basically how I'm seeing the new Intellivision controller, but with a light on the outside so it looks even cooler. And so I'm really excited about that. I really like that they're making it so you don't have to just hold it like this. You could hold it like this. And that opens up possibilities because then you get your screen here and you got your disc here. And so you're controlling over here and then you're pressing buttons over here and holding it more like a Sega Master System controller or an NES controller, right? Or maybe you want to do this, right? Maybe you're playing like a game show game and you just want to use the disc as a buzzer. Meh, meh, you know? That kind of thing. That kind of sounds like the noise that the Intellivision makes when you press something wrong. You know what I'm talking about? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. But you can also, like, if you're, like, say you're left-handed, you know, you can start using your left hand again, like, you know, like you want. Yeah, and that's really cool. They're also going to have better side buttons on the controller, and I really like that idea because these buttons really were never the greatest. Like, some of these feel okay. Like, this one up here, listen. Or this one. You hear that? It's clicky. And so that's cool that it's clicky because it feels more responsive. This one over here, though, feels spongy. And it's not very responsive. And so it's not as nice as, like, playing with a button that gives you more kind of tactile feedback, you know? Like something that's not as spongy, like, feels good. And that's what they're going to do with the new buttons. They're going to make them bigger, easier for your fingers to get onto, and they're going to make them clicky and nice. And so I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, I really like the direction that they're going with the controller. And who knows, like, I mean, maybe a third-party add-on could make like a little rubber piece that like goes over the screen, and then it has like little sensors, you know, like those little analog sticks that you can get for your phone, so you can not have to swipe on the screen. It could be like that, where it has like the little points, so you know it can, or like those conductive gloves that you can buy, where it has the conductive material, so you can still touch your phone screen when you have gloves on. And something like that, something that conducts, you know. So and then that way you can have real rubber buttons like on the screen, and it's you know, and it works like a regular controller. And so there's stuff like that. And I also think, you know, there's going to be a lot of USB outputs on this thing. You know, like I said, did I say it already? Either way, you could probably get add-on controllers, or you could probably even get add-ons that will allow you to use your original Intellivision controllers on original Intellivision games and stuff. We don't know yet, but you know, those are all cool ideas, right? So, what else do they say here? It'll also have 4 arcade-style tactile feedback buttons, which I did talk about those already. So the gyroscope and accelerometer, I can't say that word. You know the word I'm talking about, right? Take the word accelerator and meter and put it together. That word. Either way, that's cool. Makes it more like a Wii controller. I don't really need those features, but you know, they could come in handy with certain games. Force feedback, I really like that. I like my controllers to vibrate or whatever, you know. Like I just think it adds to the game. And we talked about all this other stuff. Oh, so they use the Qi wireless onboard charging system, which I think is cool. It's basically like charging stuff with magnets, kind of like, you know, and you just kind of set them in there and they charge. You don't have to dick around with any cables or anything. I like that. Has a built-in speaker, which is cool. You know, a lot of things do now. Wii U, PS4, you know, you name it. Like, most controllers have speakers on them now, and it does add to the fun. A microphone, so maybe you might not even have to buy a headset for this thing. You might be able to just use your controller. That's cool. Free downloadable app enables mobile phones as additional controllers up to 8 players, which we already kind of touched on. And yeah, I love that feature. State-of-the-art 21st century 2D image processing and graphics. Okay, here we go. So now this is where a lot of people are kind of freaking out about things, and I'm not really seeing the reason. Alright, so all these games behind me are 2D, right? And I love them. They're great. Now, you got to think about like other games that are 2D, like new games that are 2D. Like, there's a lot of modern games that look really, really good because they have like 3D characters, but it's still ultimately a 2D game. And that's kind of what they're going for here. Now, somebody asked, you know, what about Cuphead? You know, can I play Cuphead on this thing? Potentially, you know, but you got to think that Cuphead took a long time to make, and it cost a lot of money to make. And so, you know, if the system specs are, you know, higher and stuff, then potentially you could play a game like Cuphead. Will we see Cuphead on this system? Who knows? But I don't really care because I have it on PC and it works just fine. But yeah, like think about a game that's maybe like on par with Cuphead, or maybe a little bit, like not so. It's a little bit different because that game's like cartoon style graphics and stuff. Like maybe like something like a notch below it or something. Think about games like that. I think those kind of games could definitely play really well on here. And honestly, even though they have talked so much about 2D, it was recently said by Tommy on I think it was Review Tech USA's video that even though they're focusing on 2D, this console can still most likely run 3D games, and other people, they might put out 3D games. That's up to them, but the console itself most likely can do it. So that's cool. So don't just keep it in your head that it's totally 2D, because there very well could be some 3D games on there. All right, and what else do we got? We got the Intellivision Prism trademark onboard interactive lighting technology, which is basically a cool LED that kind of wraps around the console itself. I like that a lot. It's very immersive, and I like stuff like that. Between the light on the console and the speaker and the screen on the controller and stuff like that, this thing is just going to suck people right into the games, and I really like LEDs. You like LEDs on stuff too. Don't try to act like you don't. Every time I watch somebody's game collection here on YouTube, I see somebody that goes down to IKEA and buys like these shelves, and then they put their consoles in them, and then they put the little LED rope lights and stuff in them. People like lights. Lights are fun, okay? So, what else have we got? Wi-Fi/BT and Ethernet connectivity, which is a good, that's good because not everybody has their consoles and stuff close to their router, and so they need to utilize that Wi-Fi. Me personally, I have my newer, more modern consoles right next to my router, and so I like to plug all those in through Ethernet just because it's a better connection, it's faster, it's better. HDMI video output, I actually heard some people saying some negative things like, hey, how come this doesn't have an analog output so I can play these old games on my old TVs? Well, dude, your old Intellivision, just play them on there. Maybe AV mod your Intellivision so it has composite video and audio, and it'll look great, I promise. But that's not a thing that I care about. I have my old consoles and my old TVs already. I want a nice one that I can put on my nice HD TVs. So that's good for me. And we talked about the multiple USB ports, and sky's the limit when it comes to USB ports. They could put all kinds of cool stuff on this thing, all kinds of cool add-ons and stuff. You also got a system expansion interface, which is cool because you never know. Like maybe in like 3-4 years after release, they put out some kind of expansion module that makes this thing a new console again, and then that way they could potentially do that for cheaper. And you wouldn't have to buy another thing to hook up to your TV, so that's pretty cool. Now, the online, you got Internet Online Store for the ability to purchase additional software, and so that's cool. Back in the day, Intellivision had the Play cable before Sega had their cable offering, and the Sega Channel, wasn't it called? Yeah, Sega Channel. But yeah, they had that back in the 80s. People used to be able to access new games through their cable television, and that's really cool. And so that's kind of what this is, but through the internet, which we all have now. A lot of us, yeah. Let's see. Multiplayer, online gaming, and structured multi-tier tournament play. That's cool. I like that. I like playing games against people I know. Time and space leaderboard system, which includes high scores by locations and calendar. I really like that a lot. Why do I like that a lot? Because if I'm really good at a game, or I feel that I'm really good at a game, I want to see where other people stand on it too, maybe I actually suck at the game and I'm just kidding myself, or maybe I'm like the best person in the world at it, maybe I'm the best player in the world, and maybe to me, if I was the best at something like that, that would be all that I needed. But they're also including trophies/achievement rewards system, which awards unique accomplishments to each player. That's cool. That's super cool. It could be anything. It could be like they could send and send you an email with like maybe like Tommy giving you the thumbs up or something, like or maybe it's like a picture of a trophy, or maybe it's a free game, or maybe it's something, maybe if you give them $5 they'll send you out a certificate or something like Twin Galaxies used to do. They might still do that, I don't know. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. I like that. Now, here's where the main meat and potatoes of this thing is, the reimagined games. Like, this is the part that really, really got me psyched. Alright, so includes updated graphics, modernized audio, additional levels, multiplayer modes, local and online, tournament modes, and more. And so that's cool. Intellivision Classics reimagined and remade exclusively for the Intellivision Amico, which that is awesome. I want new Intellivision games so bad, and I've been wanting them for a long, long time now. And so I'm looking to have my mind blown by these. And listen to this list. Astro Smash, which is one of their most sold games. Super fun, super addictive. Shark, which is a great game that anybody can play. I mean, all kinds of people have ripped this game off over the years. But this is the original here. Baseball. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing what Intellivision does with baseball nowadays. That's cool. Night Stalker, I'm really excited about. I love Night Stalker, one of my favorite games. Really excited about it. Skiing. Skiing doesn't really sound all that entertaining, really, but back in the day, people used to play the skiing game a lot. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. Math Fun. Okay, well, that's the one I could have done without. Snafu. Snafu's awesome. Right? You remember that game Snake for like your old Nokia cell phone and stuff? I'm pretty sure they ripped Snafu off, right? And Snafu has that really cool song at the end of it and everything. Just good music almost all the way through it. But yeah, so excited about that. Utopia, which is like basically like the first God game. That's cool. Frog Bog. I love Frog Bog. Like, do you remember Grandma's Boy? That scene where Alex is going against that guy at the I forget the name of the company they work for, but either way, that's that game. And then he gets called Graybush. You remember that? Yeah, excellent movie, excellent game. Boxing. Now, if you ever played boxing back in the day, like, people used to wear out their overlays because like they were just jamming on those buttons so much, like their overlays would have clear spots on them after a while because that back paint would wear off. If you buy Boxing Complete used, chances are you might see something like that. Bowling, okay, cool. Triple Action, also cool. Good one to play against your friends. Tron games on the Intellivision, and we're gonna see a new version of it. That's insane. That's mind blowing, all on its own, right there. Like Tron Diddly Disc, a new Tron Diddly Disc makes me want to buy this console instantly. Cloudy Mountain, Crown of Kings, which is, if you don't know, they changed the name on that one some time back. But yeah, it was originally Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and it's my favorite game of all time. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with that. Star Strike, I was never really much of a fan of, but it's still cool. Maybe they'll make it better. Horse racing, I could do without that. Auto racing, I really hope that they fix the controls, because the controls were pretty awful in their original. B-17 Bomber, that's going to be interesting. Are they going to go with like a IntelliVoice sounding kind of voice, or are they going to have a more realistic kind of voice? It's not as exciting as it once was, because a lot of games can talk now, right? But it'll be interesting to see, that's for sure. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. Atari Classics Reimagined, and they have like this whole list, and they're exclusive for the Amico, which means that if for some reason, somehow, some way, Atari SA actually puts out their Atari box, or Atari VCS as they're calling it now, these won't be on there like this. So you got Pong, gotta have Pong. Asteroids, yeah. Centipede, Tempest, love Tempest. Adventure recently went up in price because of Ready Player One, and so it'll be cool to see a reimagined one that doesn't have dragons that look like ducks, right? Missile Command, Yar's Revenge, another good one. Breakout, Lunar Lander, which I've always sucked at. Night Driver, which that's cool, you know, like I love that game. Skydiver, Warlords. Warlords is super fun with 4 players. They could even reimagine it to be 8 players. Could you imagine an 8-player Warlords? Oh man, that'd be cool. But I love Atari, you know? Like I definitely big Atari fan. Intellivision's still my favorite, but Atari's right up there with them. And so that's exciting for me. Another really exciting thing is they're reimagining a Magic classics. I love a Magic. They're like one of my favorite game companies ever. Like, and they're actually going to do a Beauty and the Beast, which I've reviewed Beauty and the Beast. It was the first game I ever bought with my own money as a kid, and I'm so stoked about it. Like, that's really, really cool. And, you know, all these games on here, Microsurgeon, Atlantis, Demon Attack. I love Demon Attack. Dracula, Swords and Serpents, Dragonfire. When's the last time you played Dragonfire? Where you're that knight running across a bridge, dodging the fire from the dragon, and then you got to collect all the treasures around the dragon and all that. Do you remember that? That's such a good game. Truckin', which that one you're probably gonna. That one's gonna be interesting because the original Trucking you really had to read the manual for. Like it wasn't a game that you could just pick up and play like Pac-Man. So that should be interesting to see what they do with that. How realistic is it going to look, you know? Because the original looked really good, actually. And so, yeah, and Microsurgeon. Wow, Microsurgeon. That game's a trip. Have you played that? That one's fun. But they're also going to be reimagining other games. And there's going to be new games, like, or reimagine new games, like, otherwise as well. And, like, listen to this list. Miner 2049er. Wow. I have both of those games. Well, I have the first and second one. I don't know if there's more. Was there? I don't think so. But Super Burger Time. How cool is that? A new Burger Time. I need a new Burger Time. Bad Dudes. I'm bad. Remember that game? Like, yeah, that game was awesome in the arcade. Not so much on the NES. It was okay on the NES. But this should be really good. It's going to look better in the arcade, right? So you got Caveman Ninja, Moon Patrol, love that game. R-Type, which was an IREM game that Nintendo published. And yeah, really looking forward to that. And any other kind of shoot 'em up games on the system I definitely have interest in. 10-Yard Fight, Load Runner, which is funny because, you know, when I was a kid I used to think that said Lewd Runner. You know what lewds are? They're drugs. Like, they're not popular. They haven't been popular in like 20, 30 years. But I'm a lewd runner, you know. Spelunker, yeah. Kung Fu Master, otherwise known as Kung Fu on NES. That's cool. Moto Race USA, I'm not familiar with that one. Tropical Angel, that's interesting. And yeah, and Archon, which, you know, decent game. Now, here's the biggie for most people, Toe Jam and Earl. I love the Toe Jam and Earl games. I have what is it? Two of them on Sega Genesis. You know, you got the first one, and then you got Return to Funkatron or whatever it's called. I don't remember. I haven't played it in a while, but to see a new one is mind blowing. Like I can't wait. And so this leads me to different concerns and questions that I have. Question 1: when do we get to see a prototype of this thing working? Because so far at this point we've only seen conceptual renderings, and so I really, really want to see it working. You know, like and that's been a big downfall for fake Atari, right? Is because like they're like, look, we got a demo board, and it's like ginormous. Like there's no way they could fit this thing into the case that they're working with. And so it's going to be really interesting to see if these guys can actually pull it together and redo the board so it fits in the case and everything. Whereas like Collector Vision is coming out with a ColecoVision console, and they've already shown off the board, and they have working prototypes. And, you know, the case is 3D printed, but whatever. I wasn't sure about that one at first, and then once I saw it working, like flawlessly with all these ColecoVision games and stuff, I want one now. And I have a feeling it's going to be the same thing with the Intellivision, the Amico here. As soon as people start seeing this thing work, it's going to really change their opinions a lot, I think. The other thing is going to be, when do we get to see a game work for this thing? Because so far we haven't seen a game yet. I think that's going to be another thing that's going to really encourage people to buy this thing. As soon as we see some games working, yeah, I think that's going to change a lot of people's opinion, because just these titles alone changes my opinion. Like I said, my opinion went from, I kind of want this thing, to I need this. So just the titles alone did that, and so actually seeing them work, that's what everybody's looking forward to now. As far as other questions go, I don't really think I have too many more. I guess those would be my main questions right now. When are we going to see this thing work? Like, when are we going to see it work? When are we going to see some gameplay? I do know that the dev kits are going out next summer, or this summer coming up, and so that's where I get confused about things, because I want to know that they're going to have enough time to complete some of these games for the 2020 release date. And, that really doesn't give people a lot of time to work on them. That leads me to think that a lot of these games have already been worked on, and they already have stuff going for them, but they're just not telling you that. Now, that brings me to my last point that I'm going to make about this thing. People need to read between the lines when it comes to what they're telling you about it. And, that's coming from me. I'm just an Intellivision fan. I don't work for the company or nothing. I wish I did, but maybe in the future, right? But here's the thing. A lot of people are hearing what they have to say, and they're thinking, well, why should I buy this if you're making it for grandmas and your aunts and for old people? And why would I buy a console that's not really geared towards hardcore gamers or whatever? Here's the thing. Everybody is a gamer. You're either a gamer or you're not. There isn't any type of gamer, really. Like some people are like, I'm a girl gamer. Okay, so you play games that are with girls in them? That doesn't even make sense. And then some people are like, well, I'm a hardcore gamer because I buy everything and I beat everything and I'm hardcore, right? Okay, not necessarily. Just because you own a bunch of stuff doesn't mean that you're better at every game than everybody else ever, And then you got people that are casual gamers, right? I'm a casual gamer. What does that even mean? I casually play games all the time. Casually as in just in my underwear? That's just stupid. Either you're a gamer or you're not. If you play cards, you're a gamer. If you play Monopoly, board games, Hungry Hippos, you're a gamer. If you play video games of any kind, whether it be Cooking Mama or Metroid Prime or God of War 4, you're a gamer. End of story. You're just a person that is playing a game. That makes you a gamer, right? And so, yeah, don't get discouraged by them doing that. You got to read between the lines. Right here you got marketing, you got PR, you got stuff like that. And if you read between those lines, you can see that they're building a games console for gamers, and that's who it's for. Anybody that has ever played a game, they're a gamer. Anybody that is currently playing games, you're gaming, which makes you a gamer. It's gonna sell well, I think, and I'm really excited about all this news. And that's another reason why I waited to make the video, is because if I would have put out the video that same day, I would have just been, my head would have exploded. I would have been like, oh my god, right? And so, yeah, thank you for listening to me. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop them in the comments section. If anybody from Intellivision Entertainment happens to see this video, and they want to, maybe throw some of these answers my way about, when we're going to see some gameplay and stuff like that, please do. Looking forward to it, guys. Thanks a lot.